Next question is it true that the person we get married to in this lifetime was someone we knew from past lives? So it's very likely, if you're even asking this question, that you did know the person on your mind in a past life. Maybe it wasn't in a marital kind of a relationship. Maybe it was in another kind of way. Ultimately, it does not matter, but the lesson and the consistency of that love that you may be experiencing with them could be the common denominator of what you've experienced lifetime after lifetime. But more importantly, if you're incarnating again to experience this dynamic, there's more growth to be had. There's more awareness to be experienced within that dynamic. And love is ultimately the unifying cord which doesn't die, I believe, from lifetime to lifetime, if there's a similar entanglement that you're experiencing with this soulmate. The next question is how to know if your soul contract is over with a soul. So if you're even asking this question, very likely the soul contract is not over. Because if you know that you have nothing more to learn with somebody, if you've gone through enough experiences, learned your lessons, and maybe feel like you're just drifting apart from a certain individual, then that indicates the soul contract is indeed over. If you feel there's no more growth to be had, and maybe you understand each other, but that understanding is not fulfilling, maybe there's no ability to synergize and to help each other grow along the mutual path of togetherness, because that soul contract is simply done, then that means it's time to end the connection. If your soul contract is over with a soul, then you will feel like you can naturally release them. There will be no pain associated with that. There will be a lightness and an energy of freedom associated with the disentanglement of that connection. It will simply feel like it has expired. And so you can allow yourself to release that cord because there's nothing more karmically bonding you to that individual. So if, on the other hand, it feels like there is a lot of karma, there's a lot of weight to a certain connection, then maybe the soul contract will be over as soon as you can choose to release the resistance. Maybe you have yet to learn the lesson of forgiveness, or just choosing to accept the differences between you and the other that you're dealing with. But ultimately, your soul will know when it's the time to release them, when you choose to understand why they have played the role that they have in your life, and why you can choose to safely surrender to whatever role they are now experiencing with you, as that is also part of the learning between the two. The next question is, what is beyond consciousness? So I believe there's nothing beyond consciousness. I believe consciousness is everything. Consciousness is the sea of awareness that fills the universal bank. It is source consciousness. And source is, we can say, the quantum field, or God, or the space of etheric awareness. This is the omniscient space of just pure knowing and pure being. If you tap into this energy, it feels like pure isness. It is the state of you feeling fully integrated with the entire universe, which many people who have had near-death experiences actually say they have felt. It's a state of you dissolving into the state of total oneness. So the reason why I bring up near-death experiences is because beyond your consciousness as an individual is source consciousness. It's that higher consciousness, because consciousness is simply observation. So beyond it, there can't really be anything at all. It is the totality of everything in existence. It is quite literally the entirety of the universe encoded in every single aspect of it, which is the holographic principle of creation. That within every space is a connection to everything else. And so that is the nature of consciousness. Does quantum physics study about telepathy? How quantum physics explain that phenomenon? Quantum physics does a few very important things, which is it dismantles the notion that reality is fundamentally local in nature, and it brings us to a deeper point of understanding how everything in this universe is entangled, and it's bound in a very metaphysical kind of a way. So when, for example, you think of a certain somebody, and they maybe decide to send you a text or call you shortly after, that seems unbelievable, right? How can you thinking about somebody make them think about you? Yet quantum physics and telepathy have an explanation for this. That if you are already entangled with that person, you sending out the intention just by thinking about them actually permeates into their field as well. You are not locally connected to everybody else and everything else in this universe. You're connected by frequency and vibration and energy to all things. So perhaps you just thinking about that individual sets off some neuronal impulse within their brain, as their brain too is a holographic receiver of information. They maybe receive the impulse from your field indicating that you are thinking of them. So something subconsciously manifests within them that makes them think about you. The only explanation for this is that we are all connected at a distance. And this actually is a phenomenon that Einstein talked about called spooky action at a distance, where two particles can be entangling, in such a way that they don't need to know that they are entangled. They could be on opposite sides of the planet, and yet they could be experiencing the same condition, almost as if they're in one lab environment right next to each other. The same thing holds true to anybody and anything else. This is why when you choose to change your state within yourself, you're able to experience connection to other beings. You're able to connect to the consciousness of other individuals, which is also why some people are able to, let's say, remote view, or to channel other people's thoughts, and to tap into, empathetically speaking, another's field of awareness, because you have the ability, even through your own mirror neurons, to emulate others' conditions, which is also somewhat of a quantum physics phenomena in nature. By choosing to understand that you are an entangled being, as you are consciousness itself, and everything else in this matrix is also consciousness, you can actually see that you are just a fractal of everything else in existence, which means that the sooner that you realize that, the sooner you can come into connection with all other things. And that is really the goal, experiencing unity consciousness, which quantum physics also elucidates in this beautiful way by indicating that everything changes when we observe it in a different way, as we're all just vessels of consciousness, able to change our experience through a new observation of who we are at our core. The next question is, what are your thoughts on reincarnation? I love your content. Thank you for saying that. Reincarnation is something that I've already tapped into a few times in this video by just indicating that the soul is on this eternal path to understanding itself. So reincarnation is a necessary aspect of that so that you can culminate different experiences, understand yourself more deeply through playing out the different archetypes and roles of your identity in the physical realm. So reincarnation is a part of you understanding yourself through these different embodiments. Many people share experiences of reincarnation by just tapping into memories of past lives. Maybe by having near-death experiences, maybe by channeling parts of them that they seem to have forgotten, but they are really just experiencing the past life memory of those same experiences. One of the books that has impacted me most along my journey has been a book called Many Lives, Many Masters, written by a psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Brian Weiss. I read this book when I was very young. This book deeply shifted my perspective on reality. It resonated to the core because essentially it is a story of a hypnotherapist that goes in for a regular regression session with a patient, taking her into a trance to help her understand her phobias, yet she starts to explain herself, not as a woman, but as a man, in another time and place, experiencing totally different conditions, which are completely related to her current life experiences. So this is a story of a psychiatrist who came in with a very skeptical, very secular view on the traditional psychiatric method, and yet he started to embody a very spiritual perspective after realizing that her soul is still grappling with unintegrated past life traumas, and that releasing and understanding those traumas will actually allow you to understand yourself in this lifetime, because you still carry the karma from past lives. You still carry parts of you that need to be fully healed, and so you may be actually reliving new traumas in this life that are extensions of unincorporated traumas in past lives. Like I already mentioned, you as a soul live on, and so reincarnation can help you understand what maybe elements of your past self have you reincarnated to embody in this life because you still have deeper learning to assimilate. This is all part of the process of self-love and actually understanding that you are this whole individual that is a part of Source, trying to understand yourself more deeply. I highly recommend that you read Many Lives, Many Masters for a very deep dive in reincarnation, which will probably send you down a rabbit hole into your own self and the past lives that you might be experiencing in your current physicality. Next question is it bad to play with the Ouija board? So it's not bad per se, but it can be dangerous. What many don't realize is that when you play with a Ouija board, you are really inviting in the presence of entities and beings that exist in another dimensional place. They can come in to interact with you in this realm, but you don't necessarily know who you're inviting. And because the very nature of the Ouija board is kind of dark in nature, you often invite in a darker entity which can, in the extreme event, actually attach to you, in which case you have an entity attachment, and then this being can actually be leeching on your energy, influencing your thoughts, and living your life through you. This is a very dangerous position to be in. I personally don't encourage people to play with Ouija boards because it's really not a game. It's a very serious act of you entertaining the possibility of having these other energies enter your field who you don't even necessarily know. The question to ask yourself if you're even just contemplating using a Ouija board is, who are you actually entangling with? If you have a Ouija board, there's probably a question that you want to gain an answer to. There's different ways to gain that answer. If you are trying to get it through the Ouija board, you're actually not believing already, by the very nature of the practice, that you can find the answer truthfully within yourself. You want some external influence to tell you the answer. It's like the same as you going to a psychic and saying, read the crystal ball, tell me what is my fortune, or tell me what awaits me in the future. You are giving your authority to this other individual who may not necessarily even be picking up your truth, and maybe only picking up the energy in the moment, which is subject to change if you decide to change your own energy and belief about what you are able to expect in the future. So long story short, it's not necessarily bad to play with the Ouija board, but realize it is more serious than just that. And approach it carefully, but if you are not able to discern between the energies you're attracting, I discourage you from doing this altogether. And just think about how you can maybe channel the solution through your own soul, through your higher self connection, rather than needing to use this form of dangerous gameplay. Next question is, hi Gabi, I want to know the relation between veganism and spirituality. Thanks a lot. God bless you. Bless you too. Veganism and spirituality are not something that needs to go hand in hand. There are many people that believe that veganism is a natural side effect if you're choosing to espouse a more spiritual perspective, which can be the case. Oftentimes, when you do become more spiritual, you raise your frequency, and so you're naturally drawn to more high-frequency foods, which vegans are really just people that eat a plant-based diet. Plant-based foods are generally unprocessed electric foods like raw fruits and vegetables, and things that are much more health-promoting. It's important to note that the spiritual way is individual for every single person. There is no single spiritual diet, and anybody who tells you that's the case is honestly just projecting their individual perspective onto you. Everybody's body is different. If you look into the blood type diet or think about your genetic predisposition and where your ancestors come from and what food they personally eat, you might start to find a relevance to your own diet and to what makes you feel good. People come from all different parts of the world, or culturally embedded within us is another kind of a diet. Now, this isn't just something that's culturally programmed. Our bodies are literally able to handle different ingredients, different foods, and we have different nutritional needs based on our true genetic origin. It's important to also take that into account, which is the very physical, biological nature of our being. Spirituality is all about integrating the physical with the metaphysical. So if you think that there's only one way to approach your diet because you're choosing to mentally associate with one view of who you are, because maybe somebody told you that the only pure way to be is to be a vegan, that is a misrepresentation of spirituality. Diets change, just as beliefs change, just as you can tap into your body and realize that maybe to create balance within yourself and to understand the ecosystem you are experiencing within yourself, you need to become more of the harmonizer. Don't go against yourself. There are many vegans who are arrogant, imbalanced people. And so spirituality is all about achieving mind, body, spirit coherence. If you can do that as a vegan, great. If you feel like you can't be a vegan in order to maintain this coherence, then maybe you need to introduce other kinds of foods that will be more grounding and balancing for your individual body's blueprint. Think about everything spiritual as something that needs to make you feel more in alignment with yourself, to make you experience more peace, more happiness, and a higher frequency all around. So spirituality and veganism don't need to be associated, but they can be. So just use your discernment, like with all other things, and realize that the spiritual diet is really the one that keeps you in deepest alignment with your own soul. The next question is obstacles really a path or is it a closed door? How to know? Obstacles can come in many different forms. You may manifest an obstacle as an aspect of your subconscious that wants to be worked through. So something, for example, that resilience and persistence and patience can help you overcome. For example, if you're just starting a new kind of a career, and it takes a lot of motivation and effort to really plow through the initial challenges and to become the person that you're evolving to be, then those obstacles are something that are temporary in nature. You may experience the solution as just being on the other side of your persistent effort, and maybe you feel like you just need to be patient and give yourself some more time to work through those obstacles. That is a certain kind of energetic experience surrounding that obstacle that, again, is temporary in nature. Now, if you feel, on the other hand, that the obstacle is more permanent, maybe the obstacle feels quite literally like a roadblock. Like if you start doing something, you keep encountering the same issue, or maybe you make the same mistake over and over again. Or maybe the obstacle is just a recurring pattern, or a toxic relationship, or something that you just can't seem to transmute. This is a more serious matter because it involves you looking within yourself to understand why are you actually manifesting that obstacle? Why is this obstacle revealing something within you that you have yet to transmute? Because if you enter a space of understanding why that thing exists, then you can transcend it by actually understanding there is another way to be. If the obstacle quite literally feels like a brick wall, where if you are exerting the energy of love, patience, dedication, following your joy, listening to your heart, tuning into your intuition, doing all the right things, but you still keep encountering what feels like a brick wall, then that is probably a closed door. In which case, I want you to consider, why is it that you keep trying to bang yourself into that brick wall? Why are you trying to open a door that maybe isn't destined to open for you? Why are you trying to become a person fitting into a certain lane of reality which doesn't seem to correspond with you? Think about the motivation beneath that. Maybe you're subconsciously expecting yourself to be going in a certain direction because it's been expected of you in the past. Maybe your brain tells you that that is the only way, or that is the only solution, and so you need to do things in a certain way. But maybe what you really need to do is just surrender. Give yourself the ability to realize that what is meant for you is actually meant for you. Essentially, choosing alignment means also choosing to go in the direction that feels most aligning. So when you're becoming the version of yourself that is aligned, you will naturally have doors open themselves to you so that you can enter as this aligned, inspired version of yourself that is cultivating more personal mastery along this journey of choosing yourself and your joy along the way. If you become this version of yourself, you can trust that if a door feels closed, you're just not meant to open it. Choose to not be in greater resistance to the resistance that is, and you can more effectively pivot in the direction that is truly meant for you. The next question I got is simply the word addictions, which is a loaded question in and of itself. Addiction, briefly put, is the state of you needing to cope or escape an aspect of yourself that you no longer can cope with. That's why you use an addiction. An addiction is any form of a coping mechanism that is maladaptive in nature. Even the word addiction has a negative connotation to it because everybody knows an addiction is too much of something. It's you not choosing to have something in moderation. It's you choosing to go overboard. It might have to do with your personal self-image. It might have to do with you choosing to medicate or to numb yourself or release certain pain by choosing to take a lot of substances, alcohol, drugs, even smoking. Anything that feels like you need to do it even though your body doesn't necessarily need that thing means you're choosing to escape an aspect of yourself and your reality through that addiction. An addiction, very specifically, was manifested at some point in your life when you experienced victim consciousness, when you felt that you did not want to accept your current condition because it was uncomfortable for you to feel like a victim in your current situation. Realize that by going back to that very vulnerable moment in your life when you felt that you were a victim and you needed to numb this pain by choosing to gain the addiction, to allow that to be your escape route, see that really what you need to do is reconcile with that aspect of yourself. The addiction is just an impermanent aspect of your life that is allowing you to escape the truth of who you are. Really, there's nobody to run away from. There's nobody to hide from. You are your own soul, and you need to be experiencing yourself in a loving way in order to allow that addiction to die. You no longer need to be addicted to experience your joy. You need simply to understand yourself and to accept that what you were seeking all along was love, was acceptance, was integration, was peace, was finding another way to cope with whatever hardship you have manifested through not addiction, but through the addition of what allows you to truly be happy and to find your own soul in the midst of any adversity that you've had to overcome. Only by reconciling the difference between you now with the addiction, the version of you that was the victim in whatever you experienced in the past, can you more effectively find the bridge to gap between the addiction and the solution within you. So that's a wrap for this batch of videos. I'm going to be making part 3 to finish answering these beautiful questions that you've been asking me. Thank you to all of you who have submitted them, and feel free to keep sharing in the comments below where I can also address the most pressing topics on your mind. And remember, keep questioning, keep being open, and keep seeing that you are the conduit for the truth that you are seeking, because this ultimately is the purpose of your own journey.